So welcome again, everyone, and thank you for joining us here tonight. We've got a few new people, so I'd like to especially welcome you to our ceremony and those people that might be watching on YouTube in the next few days. So I'm so glad that you chose to be with us tonight because it's been a heartbreaking week, right, in the news. And I don't know, to me it feels like all of a sudden it's the perfect storm. You know, we've got the COVID, we've got the wildfires, we've got the hurricanes, we've got Afghanistan, and it's hard not to get overwhelmed with all of that chaos in the world. So I'm very happy that you came here tonight, and hopefully through the ceremony we can all become more aligned and more centered and more grounded. And not to make light of the situation that's going on in the world, but I think it's always good to look for a little humor in every situation. And so today I happened upon this posting in Facebook that made me smile, so I wanted to share it with you. It said, "I just turned off the news and put on a serial killer documentary to relax." It's just like, isn't it the truth? I just spent a week on the Oregon coast with my sister and her husband, and it's their condominium. So I was their guest, and they're both news junkies. So they had the TV on a lot more than I ever have it on, and I kept having to run back into the back bedroom and take my rescue remedy, which is a homeopathic remedy for anxiety and stress, and sit back there and, you know, do a half an hour of oming and finally be able to come back out into the living room. But yeah, it's a challenge to hold on to ourselves during these times. And as heartbreaking and gut-wrenching as it is, I think it's always helpful to try to visualize the larger picture. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the ceremony. But right now, let's just remember to keep this situation in our hearts and minds as we go forward into the full moon tomorrow. And let's prepare to do our own alignment as a group. So if you'll close your eyes. And part of this alignment is taken from a practice by Thich Nhat Hanh, which is a Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a Vietnamese monk. And it starts with taking a few calming breaths. Breathing in the color green, and with the out breath, say calm. Breathing in the color white, and with the out breath, say peace. Breathe in the color rose pink, and with the out breath, say love. And notice how your body feels now that it is filled with calm, peace, and love. And gently put your attention now on your heart. And see if you can feel the quality of Christ-like love filling your heart. And imagine sending that love out to each person in our group. And then focus on yourself as the receiver. Feel that love from each person touching your heart. Can you open to receive it? Now imagine us all in a circle with that connecting light of love joining us all. A circle of love. We connect heart to heart. Feel the power in that. We don't need to be in one another's physical presence to be connected, to share our loving energy. Remember that love obliterates fear. Fear weakens us, weakens our immune system. So whenever you feel that fear arise, you can sit quietly and sink into this circle of love and feel the fear dissipate. A simple exercise to do whenever you are watching too much TV or listening too much to the radio. Just calm, peace, and love, breathing it in and breathing it out. So we have an unusual full moon situation tonight. It's very rare in that this is the second full moon within one calendar month, and it's sometimes referred to as a blue moon. And there's an interesting story behind that name. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but when I was reading about it, someone mentioned that there was a farmer way back in the 1800s who was reading the Farmer's Almanac, and he noticed this really rare occurrence of two full moons in one calendar month, and so he circled that piece of information with a blue pen, and it became known as the blue moon. At least that's one person's interpretation. In any event, the moment of the full moon is tomorrow at 5:02 in the morning. And then the sun moves into the sign of Virgo at 2:35 p.m. So it can be a bit confusing because if you're just looking at the fact that the sun moves into the sign of Virgo on Sunday, then how can the full moon in Leo Aquarius happen on the same day? Well, it's just because of the fact of the hours in which the full moon moment occurs and the hour at which the sun moves into the sign of Virgo. So the full moon moment, the moon is still in the sign of Leo Aquarius, sorry. And several hours later, the sun moves into the sign of Virgo. So because we have the unusual happening tonight of two full moons in the same calendar month, our time together is going to be a little bit different. To begin with, I'd like to do a brief review of the energies of Leo and Aquarius for those who may not have been with us last time, or if you have forgotten their qualities. So remember that Leo is a fire sign whose evolutionary journey has to take him from a focus on himself as the center of the universe to the wider world. He tends to think of himself as the sun and that all the planets revolve around him. But he must learn to develop a strong sense of his own individuality, but then be willing to open his fiery heart of love and radiate that love to all of humanity. He must honor and develop his higher heart, which acts from love, for love, and with love. Aquarius, on the other hand, is an air sign. So the focus of his energy will be on the mental body. He's a distributor, a networker, and he must learn to integrate his rational, logical mind into his higher mind. And the higher mind is one that honors diversity, equality, and interconnectedness. And this is the energy that will be predominant in the new Aquarian age, which we are moving into. So that's hopeful. I think that can give us some reassurance that there are good times ahead. Nobody knows exactly how long that will be, but at least it's something we can hold in our mind's eye. So the movement of these two energies must be from me, the individualistic Leo, to we, the interconnectedness of Aquarius. But before we get into the specifics of this particular full moon, I'd like to try something a little bit different. I'm going to ask you to do a quick mental review of your month. I will discuss the energies of this month and ask you to consider if any of these resonate with your experience. So let's start with the first week in August. I'm hoping that you have a better memory than I do, because sometimes I can barely remember what happened yesterday. But give it a shot. Put your mind back to the first week if you can, and consider whether there was any unpredictable or unexpected change that came into your life. The planet Uranus was very active that first week, so Uranus can stimulate breakthroughs or epiphanies, but it always kind of strikes unexpectedly, and it asks us to be our authentic self, our true self. There was also a Uranus-Venus trine, which is a positive aspect, and that can also bring surprising solutions to some work you may be doing. So think about that for a few moments and see if any of that resonates with the early week of August. Moving along now, let us consider the energies of the new moon, which happened on August 8th. The new moon energies are used when you want to start something new or try to break some old patterns. It's a time of going inward and looking within yourself, whereas the full moon is a time of culmination and promises fulfillment of that which was started at the new moon. So the new moon is always a potent time to set intentions for what you would like to manifest. At this particular new moon, there was a wide T-square with Saturn and Uranus, and a T-square is considered an unstable configuration, something like having only 3 legs on a 4-legged table. So considering this time of the month, did you experience any strong needs to exert your independence or feel a need for greater freedom in your life? Now, the second half of the month, the energy was quite different. During this time, I'm wondering if any of you experienced the energy begin to settle, begin to calm down. Did opportunities arise that gave you a feeling of what might be possible? Did your relationships feel more positive? These questions bring us to this present moment, the impact of this full moon and the energies that it transmits. The astrologer Pam Johannsen has this to say about the full moon tomorrow. Our full moon on Sunday, this is a quote, our full moon on Sunday is especially pivotal, not pitiful, pivotal, since it occurs when the moon is in the last degree of Aquarius and the sun is in the last degree of Leo. The 30th degree of any sign is a sign of endings, of culmination, and it activates the potential for a crisis to occur because there's an underlying sense of urgency. It's as if the moon and the sun feel the pressure to get all their issues sorted out and quickly before they move on to the next sign. Because of this, she says, we'll want to be careful about making decisions around the time of the full moon. If we react rather than respond or take action when we're in a crisis mode, our choices are likely to be motivated by fear, and that energy will carry with us going forward. Instead, our job will be to take our time, to get quiet, and to allow our intuition to be our guide. So I think we can see some of that fear playing out in the world right now and action being taken. But I hope that the action is being well considered and is being tuned into our higher intuition. That's the end of the quote. Tomorrow's full moon energies will impact us for at least the next few weeks until the next new moon, and will eliminate the conflict between the two signs, which is the conflict between the me and the we, as I mentioned before. So we are charged with somehow mediating these energies and blending them so that the best of both signs become available to us when we express them. The best of Leo is open-hearted, radiatory, love, and the best of Aquarius distributes and circulates that love. This is a time of waking up to the need for others, for an attitude of interdependence, to say to ourselves, it's okay to need someone else, to need our tribe, to lean on each other. We're in this together after all. It's also a time to acknowledge our humanitarian impulses. How can we serve? How can we open to more compassion in service to others? Aspects in the zodiacal wheel refer to the ways that the planets and signs interact on a daily basis. And one significant aspect that occurs at this full moon is that the moon is sitting right next to the planet Jupiter in the sky. That's called a conjunction. And this happens to be a very positive aspect that can oftentimes bring happiness, good fortune, and success. So let's pray that that manifests in the next few weeks for our world. There may be opportunities for personal, material, and spiritual growth. Wherever Jupiter is in your chart, you can expect there to be some kind of expansion. But when the sun is opposite Jupiter, as it is at this full moon, there can be a potential for over-optimism, for greed and arrogance. So remember to use self-control and moderation to avoid the pitfalls of too much expansive energy. Jupiter always expands, but we must be sure that it doesn't overdo its expansion and give us too much of something. The other two significant aspects of this full moon involve the planets Mars and Mercury, which sit right next to Virgo in the sky. Mars energy, as we know, can feel like the warrior, aggressive, harsh, and powerful, while Virgo is discerning and discriminating. So we are asked to be especially mindful that we use our aggressive tendencies wisely with discernment. And Mercury is usually connected to communication, so the same holds true of our words. We want to be cautious and careful how we express ourselves, especially these next 2 weeks. The sun enters the sign of Virgo tomorrow, as we mentioned, several hours after the full moon moment. And Virgo is an earth sign, so she embodies the mother energy. She's pragmatic and discerning, And she wants to be cleansed and purified, so she becomes a sacred container for the Christ energy. The full moon energy can help her purify and cleanse, as the fire of Leo is still active. Let's use these next 2 weeks to let the sun of Leo infuse our bodies so it eliminates any darkness it may find. Remembering our mantra from last month, more radiant than the sun, purer than the snow, is the self within. I am that self am I. I believe that the more we embody this knowing, the lighter we become. We expand, we shine like the sun, we radiate. And one of Leo's imperatives is to radiate. So let us use this time to call it in. We can invoke it every day. We can practice being the radiant sun that we are. And in that act, we light up the world. I'd like to read a quote from the book Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2. Quote, "Let the pure light of reason and understanding dispel the fogs in which I long have walked. Let the mists disappear, and let the clouds of care disperse. Within the radiant light of the sun, which shineth ever in the fog, that sun is found within my mind. Within that sun I stand." In preparation for our meditation tonight, I'd like to play a song. And some of the words are, "Oh, my beloved, kindness of the heart, breath of life, I bow to you." I'd like you to imagine that you are the beloved, and you are bowing to the divine being that you are. So close your eyes and try to really take in these words. Breath of Leaving your eyes closed now, take a moment to breathe a silent Om into your physical body, allowing the body to become still. Breathe a silent Om into the emotional body and feel your emotions settle and become quiescent and quiet. Finally, breathing a silent Om into the mental body, allow the monkey mind to quiet down. Now feeling this alignment and feeling yourself grounded and connected to the earth, I'd like to take you on an imaginary journey. Using your imagination, I'd like you to see yourself somewhere in nature, a beautiful spot that you create in your own mind. See yourself seated on the earth, feeling the energy of the mother supporting you. Look around and notice what you see. And then breathe in the scent of the place. Do you hear any noises? This is your sacred place, a place of beauty and safety. Looking around now, notice there is a path that calls to you to follow. Even if you have a hard time visualizing, just listen to the words and imagine yourself there. You stand up and start walking down this path that leads into the woods. As you walk, feel the trees reaching out to you to welcome you and send them your blessing. Soon you come to a cave that looks inviting. You enter and soon realize that this is a sacred place. There are candles placed on the walls, so there's a feeling of gentle light. You notice that there's a place for you to sit, and you take your seat there. You can feel the presence of divine beings, and you take a moment to call in any guides, teachers, or angels that work with you to come and be with you. In the background, you hear the quiet chanting of the Om, and you begin to settle into a deep peace. In this sacred place, surrounded and protected by the Great Ones, I'd like to ask you to ponder two questions. The fire of Leo can be used to burn away all barriers to our divine self. So the first question is, what is keeping you from being your authentic self in the world? I'll give you about 3 minutes to question and ponder. What is keeping you from being your authentic self in the world? Now, if you're willing, call in the fire of Leo and ask that that fire transform those obstacles and transmute them to their higher use. Using your imagination again now, see if you can visualize a picture of yourself in the world free from these obstacles. What would that look like? What would that feel like? Imagining now this energy of freedom filling you, enfolding you. Consider now how you can use this energy in service to your family, your loved ones, and your world. How could you be of service to the world if there were no obstacles in your way? Bringing yourself back now, see yourself getting up from your seat and gently walking out of the cave, giving thanks to all the beings who supported you on this journey. Find your way back to the path and saying goodbye to the trees with gratitude, return to your sacred place. Take a moment now to re-enter this world gently, then come back to your room and open your eyes. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit now and bring you back into the real world. I'd like to read you a comment about the current situation in Afghanistan. And this is from an esoteric astrologer whose name is Johannsen. So it addresses the larger spiritual perspective of what's going on there from this particular perspective, the esoteric wisdom. And she says this, quote, "A whole Afghan generation grew up in a democratic society. They are the seeds of the future. The Taliban may impose Shia law, but its days and the Taliban's days are numbered because of this generation and because our solar system is entering Aquarius. The forces of Aquarius frees the human soul from servitude and raises up the masses. Additionally, the withdrawing sixth ray energy will sweep away also in time all these fundamentalist religions. The sun rules the fifth house of children in the Afghan chart, and it is currently in the ninth house, signifying that these children are impregnated with a new idealism, which is democracy, and who will fight to free themselves from the old ways. Vulcan, the esoteric ruler, is conjunct the sun, giving this generation the will and power to carry out this task. That's encouraging. The US and its allies, this is according to her perspective now, did what they needed to do. Nothing was lost or wasted. They acted like COVID-19 has acted, in that it has brought about a reset of life. The Afghan people have been catapulted into a modern age, and though there may be a damping down of the gains, they will not last. The spiritual evolution of humanity will have its way. End quote. So let us take these closing moments to send forth a prayer for our world at this time, especially Afghanistan and the people in danger there. So let's close our eyes, please. We invoke the forces of light to pour down over Afghanistan. And in our mind's eye, we see this happening right now. May the soul of that nation come forth and release the energy of peace, goodwill, and safety for all people in that country. May the people in power be united in their intention to bring about a peaceful resolution to this situation. May they be open to the highest that is within them, so that their decisions will be for the good of all. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with us. And so it is. I'd like to close with a poem by Jan Richardson, which many of you have heard before, but it speaks so beautifully to what's going on right now in our world. It's called Blessing in the Chaos. To all that is chaotic in you, let there come silence. Let there be a calming of the clamoring, a stilling of the voices that have laid their claim on you, that have made their home in you, that go with you, even to the holy places, but will not let you rest, will not let you hear your life with wholeness or feel the grace that fashioned you. Let what distracts you cease. Let what divides you cease. Let there come an end to what diminishes and demeans, and let depart all that keeps you in its cage. Let there be an opening into this quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you can find the peace you did not think possible, and see what shimmers within the storm. I love that. I think the most important thing to remember right now is that we hold steady in the light. Don't let the chaos of the world take over your emotional body. I think we're being asked to observe, to pray, to do what we can to help, but let the predominant idea be that the forces of light can transform the darkness. And we are one of those forces. By holding ourselves steady in the light, we help transform the darkness. So let us hold on to that. Let us trust in that, especially when we feel hopeless or overwhelmed. Let us stand in spiritual being and trust in the divine plan that will eventually manifest and bring us fully into the new Aquarian age of peace and goodwill. So I'm going to close with the great invocation. This is the first stanza that was actually given out in 1935, but I think it's also appropriate for this time. Let the forces of light bring illumination to humankind. Let the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May people of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. May forgiveness on the part of every human be the keynote at this time. Let power attend the efforts of the great ones. So let it be, and help us to do our part. Om. 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 Remember, dear friends, that tomorrow is the full moon at 5:02 a.m. So this is the day of contact with the most powerful energies of the full moon. So let this be a day of quiet inward energy as you open to receive all this wonderful energy. It's a day of safeguarding where we're asked to be mindful, to hold this energy within ourselves so it has a chance to really integrate into our being. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are the days of distribution and radiation, where we're mindful that now those energies are going out into the world and into our own environment to bless the people that we meet and we interact with. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. So namaste, friends. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next month. Take care, be well, be safe, be in prayer for our country and our world. See you next month.